Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Sinclair. I'm John,
And I'm Aaron.
and today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Yogi Bear. Yogi
Hey,
Bear, Aaron.
Yogi.
Now,
Everybody
Aaron,
does the accent, right? Everybody does the
is
voice.
what would you call Yogi's accent?
Um, well, he's basically a sort of a ripoff of I guess what was Norton from the Honeymooners. Hey
Mm.
there, blah 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 blah. If you ever watched that old, incredibly old show, did you ever watch the Honeymooners back in the day?
Is that the To the Moon
That's right.
show?
Art
Okay.
Carney played Ed Norton. Art
Mm.
Carney,
But it's not the Ed Norton that we know.
no, the character's name was Ed Norton that he
That's
played.
weird. Do you think that they
Norton,
did that on purpose?
Norton! Don't you, Jackie Gleason would be like, Norton! He'd scream at him, be like, oh, sorry there, buddy. He talked a lot like Yogi Bear.
Yeah, obviously Yogi Bear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to talk to you about camping because Yogi Bear is set in Jellystone Park.
Yeah.
When was the last time that you pitched a tent?
Well, in the conventional sense of that, it would have been.
I don't know what the first of all, tell me what the unconventional sense of that is.
This is a G-rated show, so I can't really go into it.
You're working.
But maybe when I'm working Blue later, you can hit me up. But the last time I went tent camping, and it's been a while. My gosh, I'm gonna guess 80. No, that's not true. I did go tent camping with a chick. I can tell you exactly when it was. Then it was 1993. 1993.
So you were into your 20s the last time that you went tent camping.
Oh yes, unfortunately. Yeah, it was a long time ago, and it rained, and the tent leaked. That sucked. But and so even being there with a chick and being out in the woods, that was no good. That was bad times. What about you?
Yeah, the last time I went tent camping was probably when I was around the same age. I was probably 24 or 25.
Yeah.
Went out with a group of friends, and in my mind, it was going to be great. I was like, yeah, we're going to go camping. We're going to have the campfire and stuff. Guess what happened? It rained, and it sucked, and the tent leaked, and all of the bad memories, because I spent a large majority of my youth as a Boy Scout. I mean, we're talking 12, 13 years as a Boy Scout. A miserable experience.
Yeah.
And it all came rushing back to me, and I swore after that day that I would never go camping again. And I've never been camping again to this day. If we ever go out again, if Eep ever gets me out there, we're going to do the car camping thing. We're going to put the seats down in the back of the SUV, and we're going to sleep in there because I'm done with tents. I'm done.
I told the boy, I said, listen, because I'm like, hey, camping. And he's like, he don't want to do it. He's kind of scared. Yeah. I'm like, listen, I'm going to take you out camping one night. We're going to get a proper tent and go out. Because camping, I was in the Scouts for a long time as well. I didn't rise to the ranks that you did. But I was in there for a long time.
Sure.
Went to many jamborees and scout camps and all that jive. And I didn't have much fun doing any of that. You know how they say camping, great for good? No. It was as crappy then as it was later on. But you go camping now, heck, you've got Dolby surround sound films at your fingertips and all the video games you want. It's a whole different ball game. Do you remember going camping and you had those dehydrated meals? You had to cook those in the thing.
The worst.
They were. I mean, and have you had them recently? They're so much better. But they're so much better. Don't ask me why I had some. But I mean, these were 10 times better. I mean, those meals, it'd be like spaghetti with meatballs. Like it didn't taste like that at all. It tasted like dusty crap that was in warm water. Horrible stuff.
Right.
I remember when we took our nefarious trip to the New River canoeing trip. Because I hadn't been camping with this group, I brought a bunch of dehydrated food. Well, these suckers are breaking out Snickers bars and Doritos and crap. I don't got none of that. I sat in my tent like a doofus. I thought to myself, yeah, this is the end of your camping career. And don't even get me started on all the cold winter jamborees. Whoever thought that was a good idea? Take a bunch of boys camping in the middle of freaking winter in the woods. That's idiotic and dangerous, man. You're out there freezing your what's-its off. So, yeah, camping, it's never as fun as you think it'll be. I mean, I'm sure, listen, John Denver and some of these guys were up there in the rock, they're up there having a good time. They're around the campfire. That sounds great in a song, but no one talks about getting the campfire ready, keeping the wood in the campfire, keeping clearing a path, setting up all those tents. It's a continual pain in the butt.
Yeah, but I do support your decision to take Luke out and show him the ways of the wilderness because it is an important part of growing up. I think sleeping out in a structure like a tent, it'll be good
Yeah,
for him. He'll like
I
it. Who
agree.
knows?
I agree with that.
Yeah. So on to the matter at hand, Aaron. Yogi Bear. So this game I chose from our massive library, thanks to the our fine listeners that have sent us just literally hundreds and hundreds of tapes. I chose this one because I don't believe that we've ever done a game on our Sinclair based on an animated cartoon. I think that this is our first one, so I thought, why not Yogi Bear?
Uh-huh.
And so, if you're wondering about the rationale, I didn't pick it because I knew it was a horrible game. I had no idea if it was going to be a horrible game. Spoilers: it's a horrible game. But I chose it just because it was sitting there on the shelf and I grabbed it and I thought, hey, I like Yogi Bear. I like the cartoon. Maybe this will be good. So, Aaron, tell us about Yogi
Well,
Bear.
before we get into the game itself, I do want me. I had to look into the actual character proper because this, and also anything that's stall from getting into the actual game. So Yogi Bear has been around for a long time. He made his debut in 1958 as a background character in one of your other favorites, Huckleberry Hound, one of his cartoons. They mentioned something in the wiki that I never thought about, but it makes perfect sense. You know how Yogi has the collar and tie? Do you know why he's got that?
They did that. All the Hanna-Barbera characters had the collar so they could save money by only animating from the neck up.
Isn't that bizarre?
Well, I never thought about it before I read that, but it makes sense because when you watch these guys, they are still as a statue, from the collar down, and then their neck is moving all kinds of ways. So I guess that they were able to cut down the amount of animations needed by something like 2/3 just by adding collar on there. So pretty wacky.
It says here, Hanna-Barbera cut costs. So it said for a 7-minute cartoon, instead of having to do 14,000 frames, they could cut it down to 2,000. That's astounding. And also Hanna-Barbera wasn't known for their top shelf animation. Let's just put it that way. But that's what it was. So anyway,
they were known for cranking out the content, just like us.
They were. So Yogi proved to be mega popular, and so he got spun off of Huckleberry Hound into his own show. Most of the old Hanna-Barbera cartoon guys were based on somebody. And like I said, this guy was based on Art Carney's Ed Norton character from the Honeymoons. Honeymooners spawned a lot of various, because the Flintstones are also...
weren't the Flintstones sort of inspired by that too?
Hanna-Barbera property who had a collar, as I come to think of it. Of course, Yogi's little buddy is Boo Boo the Bear, and his girlfriend, you know his girlfriend's name? Cindy Bear. Cindy actually occasionally appears. I know if you ever watch the Hanna-Barbera Laugh Olympics from like I think it was the early 80s, like you see her more in that than you do in these. But basically like
now let me ask you, I want to ask you a question about Boo Boo. I know that you are not a fan of sort of the diminutive sidekick in a lot of these shows. Scrappy Doo, the whatever the dog's name was in Blue Falcon.
I don't
you
count
hate all
Boo
those
Boo
guys.
Amongst them.
Okay, you don't count him as part of that.
Because for one thing, Boo Boo's not an idiot. Boo Boo keeps telling Yogi, "Don't do that, Yogi. You're gonna get hosed." And Yogi's the idiot. And so Boo Boo at least is the voice of reason and of the duo. Of course, they live at Jellystone National Park, which is a takeoff on Yellowstone National Park, which is a big, very cool park here in the States. And he's always chased around by a ranger, Park Ranger Smith, because Yogi. Listen, he's smarter than the average bear, and he does like to eat them pick-and-nick baskets, Boat. And so that's and why they didn't work that into this is that's a whole other. I mean, this thing writes itself. This game, he steals pick-and-nick baskets. Can't you have a game where he does that? The hell were they thinking? Anyways, the same guy voiced Yogi from 1958 until 1988. His name was Dawes Butler. So forever. Man. Think about that. 30-year career.
That's a job you don't retire from until you die. If somebody says, "Hey, do you want to be the voice of Yogi Bear?" You say, "Yes, sir," until they tell you stop.
Yogi's been pretty popular all over the world. It's funny, the Hanna-Barbera characters, to me, they were always sort of the second-rate cartoons. I mean, with a
Yeah.
few exceptions. I mean, Scooby was first rate, the Flintstones were first rate, but their back catalog was sort of the second rate guys that were big. They were more popular in the
Yeah.
50s and 60s, but still they had a run. Now get this, boat. According to Wiki, and I knew some of this. There's a restaurant. There used to be a chain of Yogi Bear restaurants, which I don't know if you remember that, but I remember seeing a couple. There's only one left. It's Yogi Bear's Honey Fried Chicken in Hartsville, South Carolina. That'd be good.
Really?
Eating.
You never ate at a Yogi Bear restaurant,
probably
did you?
did as a kid. I remember seeing them all over the place. But here's the thing I do see every once in a while is the Yogi Bear's Jellystone Park camp resorts, where you park your camper.
Yeah, you still see those around. Absolutely.
It says here they've got 80 locations, which is kind of cool. And then one last little bit of trivia: there was a song called Yogi that hit number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was a song where they sang like Yogi Bear, so kind of neat.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you know how it goes. Yogi wants a gal who's dreamy. Yogi wants a gal who's creamy. Yogi wants a gal to call his own. Is she blonde? Is she tall? Is she? You don't know that song?
I don't think I've heard that. I can't tell if you're just making that up.
Is she any kind of dreamboat at all? No matter his, hers at all. Yogi.
Very good, Boat.
That's it.
There's one thing I want to touch on before we get into the review, and this is something I always wondered about. If you're not an American, you may not know this, but there was a very famous baseball player that played for the Yankees called Yogi Bear. Yogi Bear was a catcher for the Yankees, an all-star catcher from back in the day. And he was known for his idiotic sayings. Like he would say the stupidest. I mean, he was very quotable. Let's just put it that way.
Right. He was, but I wouldn't say that he would say stupid things. He knew what he was doing.
I'm not sure.
He knew
I've
exactly.
never been 100% sure, to be honest with you, if he knew what he was doing. But anyway, I always assumed that Yogi Bear was named after him. But
right. Why would you not assume that?
Well, Yogi Bear sued Hanna-Barbera for ripping off his name. And they said, listen, it's a complete coincidence, and the courts bought it. So technically there is no connection between Yogi Bear and Yogi Bear, which I found that I was always wondering what was going on with that. So, with all that fun out of the way, let's get to Yogi Bear the game. This was developed by an outfit called Dalali. Is that the way you're seeing that, Bode? D-A-L-A-L-I. Dalali. Published by Piranha Software. Dalali actually they developed a bunch of stuff here, Bode. Tell me if you. I think you've heard of a few of these, and some of it's not crap. Okay, I want you to bear that in mind. They did Clue, Afterburner 2. They did Little Computer People. Hey, Rescue on Fractalus. They did Boulder Dash. So there were some good titles amongst what they did. And the publisher, Piranha, they did a bunch of good stuff too. They published a lot of good stuff. Trapdoor, both the Trapdoor games. Here's a game we've got to play. The Astonishing Adventures of Mr. Weems and the She-Vampires.
Oh, yes.
Write that down.
Mark that one down on the list. Yeah.
There's also a game that I've really found interesting, The Big Sleaze. That's another one that they published. So they published these. Anyway, they published Yogi in '87 at the introductory price of £9.95 a boat. This also had an Amstrad and Commodore 64 release. You take the role of Yogi Bear. And I believe you wanted to give the people some background here.
Yeah. So I'm going to read to you. I have, I own this game. I've got the cassette inlay right here. Okay. So this is a little bit of backstory. Get ready. Grim tidings from Jellystone Park, folks. Yogi's little pal Boo Boo has been bear nabbed by a mean hunter planning to make some loot by selling him to a circus. Boo Boo is locked in a cage near the hunter's cabin somewhere in Jellystone. Only Boo Boo's fearless and faithful friend Yogi can save him. So that's what we get. That's what we get at the beginning. Okay. And what you've got here is a game that instead of doing the things that Yogi normally does that would make a great game, which is like sneaking around. Somebody said D Tungsten in the band or in the chat says a good Yogi Bear game would be like sneaking. Yes. Remember that game Sneaking on the Xbox, Aaron? That would be fantastic. Well, that's not what you do in this game. What do you do in this game, Aaron?
Well, since Boo Boo's been kidnapped, Yogi has to go through and get to Boo Boo's cage. But before he gets there, he's got to collect clues to decipher the hunter's code to get the key to unlock Boo Boo. Okay,
Right.
And
how do you do that in this game? You collect toffee apples, of course.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
As you do.
It's funny. I didn't even know those were apples, and I thought they looked like suckers. So you got to collect 6 of these bad boys. So let's talk about this game. This is an odd game. I mentioned that the developer of this the publisher had done the Trapdoor games. And I know you were a big fan of those games. This game has some elements of that with some elements of sort of like an action game.
Well, okay, let me try and paint a visual picture of what's going on for the people that are listening. So, imagine a game that looks this game is a side-scrolling flip screen game. It's not scrolling. I take it back. It's not scrolling. Yeah. It's a flip screen platform game that like you said, with depth. So you can go up and down the screen. Imagine a game like Double Dragon. Okay,
I wouldn't call it a platform game. It's more like I would say it's more like a Pitfall type game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're doing is you basically go from left to right, and you collect various things on the ground. Okay. While you do that, you jump over obstacles, you avoid enemies, and you travel throughout this game world that is a very mappable game world. The thing that makes this difficult is that the game world is kind of confusing, and what doesn't help the game world is that you have to travel through caves. There are multi-dimensional caves in this game where you go out one end and you reappear somewhere else in the park.
They're teleporting caves,
yeah. So what you have to do is you have to locate Boo Boo, but before you find Boo Boo, you have to collect all the toffee apples. Okay,
right.
So now you have a very unique radar system in this game that tells you how close you are to Boo Boo. What you do is when you're as you're traversing the world, you see a ticker tick down. There's a number counter, and as it's ticking down, that tells you that you're getting closer to Boo Boo. As you're moving away, it tells you, as the number is getting bigger, you are farther away. So that is sort of the way that you can tell where you are in relation to the hunter's cabin.
Though. Let's face facts.
Well,
the thing is squat.
The thing is, you've got to. It gives you some idea, but the problem is that before you can even get to Boo Boo, you have to collect all these toffee apples. So for 90% of the game, it's useless.
Yeah, you were talking about this being mappable. Believe it or not, someone did map this. I don't know if did you see the map?
No, I didn't see the map.
If you go over to the ZX Spectrum, I can't remember the name of the site we go to for this stuff, but they've got the full color, they've got the full map, and it's made up of actual screens. Like you remember the magazines used to have those, and it goes on. It would stretch on like forever, like well off my TV. You'd have to scrub it, and there'd be like multiples of those. So, I mean, it's real. Mapping this is not easy, or it's also nonsensical. That's spectrumcomputing.co.uk if you're looking for this map. Now, getting around this area is a pain. I don't mean because of the obstacles, because those are bad enough, but it is confusing. The one saving grace is when you go into a cave. If you get killed, you start at the last cave you went in. Thank God, because the last thing you want to do is start back at the beginning, which you will do hundreds of times as you try to figure out what you're doing. So I'm not going to say there's save states in the game, but that's as close as you're going to get. It's almost like a checkpoint system.
Right. And so in addition to that, you have a time limit in this game that's set. Well, it's not really a time limit. This is another unique thing about this game is that you've got a calendar that's constantly moving forward.
Yes.
Okay. So it starts at January 1st. And the object is to rescue Boo Boo as soon as possible. However, the game knows that this is impossible because in the instructions it says it's actually a dual scoring system. If you can't rescue Boo Boo, just try and survive as long as you can and have fun.
Yeah, screw Boo Boo. The funny thing is, your health is always depleting, and plus you've got the counter always spinning. And on
Mhm.
top of everything else, let's just get to all that is baloney to the true madness of this game, which is trying to survive in Jellystone. You know,
Right.
Yellowstone, the actual park, is known for its many perils, both geysers and like boiling lakes and all the crazy crap that goes on there. And clearly, that whoever made this game must have visited and decided to put all those in Yogi's way, because this thing has everything. It's got quicksand, it's got geysers, it's got holes, it's got people chasing you, it's got elk. It's got
Mhm.
everything. Poor Yogi's got nothing. He can't fight back. He can't do anything except for jump and move. That's it. You get chased by both the hunter and the park ranger. Now, one would wonder why the park ranger would chase Yogi if a hunter had went out and captured bears. Did you?
He may be
Yeah, but
misinformed.
he's going to sell Boo Boo to the circus, for God's sakes. You,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yogi can talk. You can't he talk to the park ranger? Hey, park ranger, they captured Boo Boo. They're going to sell him into slavery. You know, oh, geez, Yogi, let me help you out. You know, you can't do
Mhm.
that.
You've got a good point
Uh,
there. I forgot about that. Yogi could
yeah.
talk.
You forgot about that before with Huckleberry Hound. He's from the South. but so you're always under the gun in this game, and the game cheats. I mean, it straight up cheats to kill you. If you've got someone pursuing you, like when you go to the next screen, they don't just leave; they come after you, and they're right on top of you if you switch screens. I mean, they teleport. I mean, you could instantly die when you come to the
Yeah.
next screen, and it is
Yeah.
irritating as hell.
You know, the problems of this game, there's to be honest with you,
The
even the
problem, yeah.
even though the concept of the game is sort of dopey, and even though you're collecting toffee apples to solve a logic puzzle, it's not really even a logic puzzle. What it reminds me of, remember when we played Double Dragon 3 and for the show for the
Yeah.
Amigos, and there's that one part at the end of the game where you have to jump, the jumping puzzle. This is exactly like that. This is
Someone
exactly
thought they
like
would
that.
build a game around it. Big
Right,
mistake.
right. The problem with this game is that number one, the controls are god awful. Okay. In a game where Yogi's main move is jumping, jumping is not easy to do. You don't push the button to jump in this game. This is one of those Lionheart inspired
Oh,
control schemes where you push the button and
no.
then you move the stick in the direction that you want to go
Listen,
in.
we're not going to
That is
compare
no
this to
good.
Lionheart in any way, okay? You got to let that go. And secondly, this game does have what I would call the anticipatory leap, where you have to sort
Hmm.
of jump, hit the button, and then he'll jump after a small time passes. Amazingly, you know, the funny thing about this is, Bode, this could have been a decent game if they had
Yeah.
just made this, get rid of the tunnels, okay? If this had just been a straight on game where Yogi runs from left to right, or you can even make it like a pitfall and collect stuff,
Hmm.
you could have had a good game here, because I got used to the controls, and you can actually. One of the things you can do, and I learned this from watching a guy do a playthrough, is like if one of the bad guys are on your butt, you can basically put them in a pit and they'll fall in,
Hmm.
and you can get away. So there are ways
That's
around the
right.
bad guys, but the it's just confusing as heck with the layout of the caves and stuff. And also, of course, why did they do that? Well, because they wanted to stretch the game out, right? If it
Hmm.
had been just a straight run, this game would have been like quick as a
Well, it's
hiccup.
funny. It's funny because if you watch the playthrough on YouTube, which we're watching right now, the video version from RZX Archive, you can beat this game in less than 5
Yeah.
minutes. If you know exactly where you're going, the game becomes pretty easy as long as you've got a handle on the controls.
He doesn't even see
And
the
so
elk in this playthrough, not one time. You know, so you can
so
avoid that
obviously
completely.
once you map this thing out, it becomes much easier. The question is how many players took the time to map this game out to
Yeah.
completion, and is it worth it at the end of the day? Well, having seen the end of the game, you don't be expecting some superstar spectacular ending. You're not going to.
No.
It's not
No.
there.
Because most of these games are like that, though. They just kind of
No,
fizzle.
no.
This game,
Yeah.
I know this game takes a lot of heat. And trust me, I know you picked this, and for picking it, you're a fool. But the game, Yogi looks good. Boo Boo looks horrible, but Yogi looks good. The Hunter looks good. The
Yeah.
Ranger looks good. The background looks good. The trees,
Mm-hmm.
the caves, they all look good. But Yogi's got this idiotic power where he can turn into a bush, which is stupid, and you never use it, but it looks good when he does it.
Right.
He looks like a
All of
bush.
the characters, all the characters are drawn very well. You get a lot of colors on screen. I went back and forth. The majority of the screen is yellow.
Yeah.
This is a monocolor. All the action takes place in the world of yellow versus and then in the horizon you see some different colors. The Somebody in the chat remarked this is Yellowstone, or Jellystone Park is based on Yellowstone Park.
Man.
Maybe that had something to do with it, but I don't know. Maybe I would have gone with a different color for the foreground other than yellow, maybe a green or something like that. What do you think?
It's funny that they've got green at the bottom, but not at the top, and you're in the woods.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with that. I could fix this game, okay? Because there's a game you could compare this to, and it would be perfect. You could literally use the same gameplay. You want to know what it is?
What's that?
Smurf Rescue.
Oh yeah,
Smurf Rescue.
Yeah.
You can even leave in the depth if you want. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Smurf Rescue is a game. You run through it quick. You get to the end and it starts over on the ColecoVision. And that also was an Atari release. You can just do that like with this. You could have done the exact same thing. I mean, Smurf Rescue repeats over and over with you add a few more enemies. Rinse and repeat. It would have been cool. Now I know what I can tell. They didn't do that because they added the cave system to give the game more of an exploring, which this was, this was a big thing I think on the Speccy, was having this exploration aspect to the game. But I wouldn't have done that at all. This game, if you could use all the assets and everything and make this a Smurf Rescue like game, and you've got something. I would probably tweak the jumping a little bit. I'd ditch the whole turn into a bush aspect of it, which is stupid. And just concentrate on the jumping and use the screens you've got. You can have pits and holes and stuff, and you can even keep in the bad guys that chase you. But I would also get rid of they instantly teleport to where you are when you flip screens, obviously. But I mean, you could make something out of this if you wanted to. They chose to do it this way. Again, I know why they did it, but it was a bad choice, especially for a game where you've got Yogi Bear in it. And little kids like Yogi Bear. And no little kid's going to want to sit around playing this game because it's so freaking confusing and weird.
One of the things I thought was amusing about this game is that when Yogi is facing straight on towards the camera, he has the dopiest look on his face that I've ever. I mean, it looks horrible. But the thing is, I don't believe that Yogi ever actually does. In the cartoon, in the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, does he ever actually directly face the camera?
Not often.
It seems like most of the time, yeah. And so maybe they just weren't sure how to draw him looking straight on because he does not. It's not a good look for old Yogi.
It looks like. I mean, Yogi's sort of a doofusy looking guy. He is a doofus. Let's face facts. No offense to Yogi fans, but Boo Boo's the brains of that. They should have had Yogi get captured and have Boo Boo rescue him. That would have been.
There's something else in this game that I find a little bit annoying. It can be humorous. Whenever you're traversing over a pit, you'll do the classic cartoon maneuver of your legs will keep moving for a little bit before you fall in. And that's humorous when you've trapped the ranger and he falls into the pit. But it's less humorous when you constantly are falling into pits, which is what you'll do a lot of the time when you're playing Yogi Bear.
You get used to it after a while. But I mean, I did have a E.T. moment or two where I'd fallen into the pit for like the 10th time. I'm just like, son of a gun. The funny thing is, once you get going in this game, you can earn extra men pretty easily, and you can go pretty far. I mean, I could stay alive for a while. I could collect a couple of the caramel apples, but ultimately, I would just get confused. And then once you encounter enemies, that's usually what would kill me. Is either that or I would just. Sometimes they have hazards right when you jump into the zone, which is also, I mean, let's face facts. They need a little bit of level design work if you're going to use my Smurf rescue idea, because they put stuff in stupid areas, But I mean,
it's almost as if the stuff is procedurally generated. They didn't think about it at all. They're just like, let's just put stuff let's just roll some dice and make it happen, because there's no rhyme or reason. And the way that the geysers work is also the same thing. They just seem to pop up at random locations on every screen.
All of that leads to lazy. I mean, I think we all know what this was. They bought the Hanna-Barbera Yogi Bear license for a song, and then they're like, we need a game for this. Get it going. We're going to crank this sucker out. and get it out there in stores for minimal cost. And so probably the guys that worked on this, and no offense to them, but they probably didn't have a whole lot of time to spend on this and didn't spend much time on it to get it to completion. And so what you get here is sort of a game that's sort of a mess. That's sort of I mean, it has possibilities. It's a shame to waste the good graphics, frankly, if you want the truth, because like I said, they were close to having something that could have been enjoyable. I still didn't hate this as much as a lot of people. I think you could sit down and beat it if you really figured out where you were going. But I mean, I don't think it's that much fun, and I certainly don't think it's something I'd want to go back and play.
Yeah,
No doubt
I
about
agree
that.
with you 100%. It's not the worst game in the world, but there is nothing about this game that makes me want to go back
Yeah.
and give it another shot.
I did look up some reviews on this boat. Believe it or not, I actually found some, if you can believe that. The guys over at Spectrum Computing calculated some reviews here. They calculated that the overall review scores was 65% out of 4 reviews. Your Sinclair gave this an 80, and their comment listed here: another cartoon conversion, not quite what it could be, but bear with it, and you should find plenty to keep you amused. I see what they did there. Crash gave this a 62, and they said basically for Yogi fans only, and we all know there's tons of those walking around. Sinclair user gave this a 7 out of 10, and your Sinclair gave this an 8 out of 10. So actually, it did okay with some of these outfits. Did we get any Discord action on this one, Boat?
We did. We got a couple reviews. Mitsuyama leads things off. He says, let's start with the good points. The graphics are nice, and Yogi, Boo Boo, and Ranger Smith are easily recognizable. The bad points, everything else. The sound is minimal, which is oftentimes a plus on the Spectrum, let's be honest. And the game is rock hard. I realize that many games of this era relied on difficulty for longevity, and while the game can be completed in 5 minutes if you know what you're doing, it would take weeks of play to map out the game, find the objects you need to collect, and develop a strategy to complete it. I just don't have the patience for this type of game anymore. 3 out of 10. Jigglebox writes, 5 out of 10. After than the average fare, boo boo. And Chris Folds writes, what a disappointment. I love Yogi Bear cartoons, and the graphics are great, capturing the spirit of the cartoon. The sound is what you expect on a Speccy, but the gameplay isn't.
It is. It
frustrating controls with a rock solid difficulty level where you can get killed just for wandering onto a screen in the wrong position.
Yeah.
Not as bad as Scooby-Doo, but still terrible. 4 out of 10. So the Discord group, not a fan. Not a fan of this one.
The fellas that said it's rock hard, it didn't have to be rock hard. It's only rock hard because the game has flaws. That's the only reason it's hard. Because the crap teleporting onto you when you switch scenes and the shoddy jumping that you have to get used to. There's no reason this game should be hard at all. It should be be a breeze. It's just that they did a crap job making it. I should mention that I did look this up on the eBay. And if you're in the UK and you're a Yogi Bear aficionado, you can get this all day long for under $6 bills US, Boat. So it's a cheap one to grab hold of, my friend.
All right. Well, as we close the book on Yogi Bear, we want to thank all of you, of course, for listening to the show. And we want to give a special shout out to all of the Spectrum supporters out there, all the folks that sponsor our show over on patreon.com/OurSinclair. And these people include Jigglebox, Chris Folds, Steve R., Frodo NL, Christian Russell, Paul Bossman Harrington, Hermsky, Mark Durham, Eric Nelson, Simulant, and O'Brien's Retro and Vintage. Thank you guys so much for supporting our Sinclair. We really appreciate it. And of course, we do record our Sinclair live on twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming. We'd love to have you in chat next time you're around. If you want to head on over there and give us a follow, you can be notified whenever we go live. We've got pretty nice crowd here watching us. I'd like to give a shout out to those people that have joined us in the chat. First of all, we've got our killer moderator. That sounds violent. He's not a killer. He's a lover. Pixels at Dawn Gaming is with us. We also have a Helio, Atten, Barkbit, Bike Me, Bitstorm, Brock 101, Canadian Retro Things, Christian Russell, Commander Root, Krabs MTG, Frodo NL, Great Owl G, Hermsky, Jason Warnes, L. Curtis Boyle, Lemon Juices 12, Mitsuyama, Olav Hope, Paul Kitching, Picard 2010, Retro Rewind.ca, Rob O'Hara, TomToms, Vigoro Pro, Z9K9, and Zorglub45. Thank you guys so much for being with us on this edition of Our Sinclair. Now, Aaron, we have not chosen a game for our next go-round. I believe that it is your choice, my good sir, for the next game, so I leave it to you to delve into the vast, vast library of the ZX Spectrum and choose a perfect gem for us to cover next
We'll
time.
do, and we'll announce that on Discord post-haste, Boat. I can't do anything
Sounds
worse
good.
than this. Come on.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to Our Sinclair. We'll see you next time. And until then, rewind tape
And press play.